To police, our shadow for police first, Peter Collier, who will talk about this policy, and our candidate, George Tilbury, the candidate for Forestfield and ex-police officer, will also talk in relation to the value of the police dogs, or dual-purpose dogs as well.
Thanks, Liv. Thanks very much, Libby. Look, can I just say, I'll just reiterate a couple of things. First of all, what Libby said, crime is out of control. Crime is at a record high in the regions. We've never seen anything like it. Now, couple that with record resignations from the police force. Almost 1,200 police have left the force in the last 3 years. That's at a national average attrition rate of 150 per annum. So we've got a problem. Now, as Shadow Minister, I spent the last 4 years listening. I've listened to police, I've listened to the public, I've listened to former police officers, disillusioned police officers, and that's why the Liberal Party is going into this election with a multifaceted policy framework that will attract police and retain police and ensure that we have safer streets. We will have hundreds and hundreds more police on our streets as a result of our policies. We will provide hundreds of thousands of dollars to police officers to stay in the force. That is not walk away disillusioned. In addition to that, we'll put police into our schools to assist with disengaged youth. And importantly today, we will increase the number of police dogs by 10. And very importantly, we'll put them back into the regions. The current government took them away from the regions, and I'm going to pass over to George in a moment, and he's got some experience in the area, and he can go through the area with regard to police dogs. But what I'll say in conclusion, the issue with regard to law and order going into this election is very profound in terms of the distinction between the Liberal Party and the Labor Party. The Liberal Party has a $550 million multifaceted policy framework which is going to attract and retain police officers and make our streets safer. The Labor Party have not got one policy with regard to law and order. There is not one incentive for police officers. There is not one policy to increase one new officer on the streets. Nothing. There have been crickets as far as the Labor Party is concerned. So in terms of Liberal versus Labor in law and order, there is one answer, only one answer, and that is that the Liberal policy is comprehensive and it will be effective. Having said that, I'll now hand over to our candidate for Forestfield. George Tilbury is a former president of the police union, has enormous experience, and importantly today has had some significant experience with regard to the police dogs. Thanks, George.
Thanks. So we've seen a sample today in relation to what police dogs can do. So with Shredder, he did a fantastic job on command, and they obey the person who is their handler. I returned last year from Geraldton, so I've had quite a bit of regional experience, and I arrived in the city of Geraldton not long after the police dog was removed from regional WA. It had a significant impact on frontline policing operations. It was a dumb decision by WA Police, and we need to ensure that police dogs are reinstated right across regional WA, particularly in the cities where we're having our biggest problem in relation to crime. I can give many examples in relation to where police dogs can be used. What we see is when offenders flee from police, they're able to track them down, even if there's a time period where it's lapsed and police arrive shortly thereafter. The police dogs are fantastic in relation to tracking scents and locating offenders. So they assist police to put people behind bars that have committed these serious offences and would otherwise probably get away with it. So the policy we're announcing in relation to putting police dogs back into regional WA is a fantastic one. It'll be welcomed by frontline police officers and also welcomed by the police union.
George, the decision to take the dogs out of the regions, you described as dumb. Is that police dumb or government dumb?
Well, it's probably both, to be honest. We need to make sure that police have the tools that they need to effectively do their job. So we need to make sure that police dogs are put back in the regions so we can tackle crime and get it under control.
But the decision, I'm assuming, is operational, and therefore it's not at the direction of the government, so it's more police dumb than government dumb. That's criticising your former employer, or your current employer is still...
I'm no longer handcuffed. I do not work for police, but government do direct police to do certain things. So whoever made the decision, it is dumb.
The police minister can easily tell them, put the police officers back into police dogs back into the regions.
Was it an overreaction to the Triple C's report in 2021? Have they just gone putting in the too hard basket to develop the rules and guidelines around police dog usage?
There was extensive concerns in relation to previous incidents that have occurred, but my message is very clear to criminals. If you commit a crime, there will be consequences.
Any other questions in relation to police dogs or
How much
police?
would this cost to put dogs back, Peter?
Peter?
Yes, sorry, that's
Yeah.
captured with the.
Yeah.
Did you want to say?
Yeah, no.
Captured within the $137 million for the additional police officers. The actual dogs, the cost of the dogs is negligible. They're talking about tens of thousands of dollars. So the cost is irrelevant. It's not irrelevant, sorry. Of course it's relevant. It is captured within that $137 million for additional police officers. But the important thing is, as I said, those police dogs were removed, particularly from the regions. They do a terrific job. Police want them, the public want them, and if the government wanted them, quite easily the minister could pick up the phone to the commissioner and say, put them back in. I've been a minister. That's what you do. You say, we want those dogs back in the streets.
I think they're referred to as a force multiplier, George. Is it one and an extra one, or does the dog make it better than two?
Well, police canines are invaluable in relation to the work that they do. So we had a handler, so there's one police officer and his partner is the dog. The dog lives with them, they look after him or her, whoever the dog is that they have, but the general purpose and drug dogs were separate, but now we have police dogs that can do dual purpose. So they're fantastic. So we can use them for whatever they need to be used for. But in regional WA, and I have experience in relation to this area, currently, if you want to run an operation and you need a police dog, which are invaluable with what you do, the bureaucratic process to get one to come up to the regions is ridiculous. We need to streamline it. Let's put police dogs back where they're needed, particularly in our cities in regional WA, because they are invaluable and they do a fantastic job.
So would that be like Broome, Carnarvon, like what towns are you looking at, or cities?
Well, your major cities to start with, and Peter can probably talk more extensively about this, but your Bunburys, your Geraldtons, your Kalgoorlies, they're the places primarily first and foremost where they need to go. If there's any other places where they can be justified, then I would support them being rolled out right across the state.
Have you
And
had
just
any
to, sorry,
advice?
and this is just to confirm, that's exactly right, George, just to confirm. There are 7 regional districts in Western Australia. Every single district is understaffed at the moment, and they've had their dogs taken from them. So the districts, particularly in the Kimberley and the Pilbara regions, are where you could station a dog within that's where they were, in the districts at the moment.
How many
They've
are
come
we
from
talking? We were getting back to the previous
10.
number, or
10. 10. So it's an additional 10. There are 20 now, it's an additional 10. It's exactly what the union have been calling for, exactly the message that I've been getting out on the streets. You will not find any serving police officer that I'm aware of, I'm sure there may be one or two, that doesn't agree with this policy.
I guess though, George, with your experience within police, do you think there are senior police officers who would advise the government to return to police dogs? Is that feeling felt within the executive?
I can't speak on behalf of others. All I can say is on behalf of frontline operational police, they want these dogs and they need these dogs.
Could Peter's retiring at the next election, George. Would you like to be the police minister in a Mettam government?
I'm purely focused on winning Forestfield, and I'm working hard for the people so that they have a strong advocate in this area.
Oh,
And I think he'd be an outstanding minister for police.
As a hypothetical, George, chance to win, would you be open to serving as police minister, or would you like to broaden your horizons?
I'm totally focused on winning Forestfield, and you need to get to first base before you can get a home run. So if that's the case, I'd be open to taking on any portfolio that the leader offered me.
What about the leader of the Liberal Party, George?
I'm not even going there. Libby Mettam is doing a fantastic job. She's been under-resourced for these last 4 years. We need to make sure that we get more people in Parliament to support her. And let me tell you, Labor will have you believe that there's no experience in the Liberal Party, but there's a lot of candidates like myself that have extensive experience, and we've lived real lives and done real jobs, and we will do a fantastic job if we're elected to Parliament.
Right. Any other questions?
The Chinese ships off the coast, are you concerned with how the federal government is monitoring their activity?
Look, this is ultimately a federal government responsibility. We will take advice from the federal government in relation to these matters.
That's what the Premier said this morning. But he also called for more warships to protect our coast, given how Western Australia is of such import to the Australian economy. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. We will always take a Western Australia perspective first, and the safety of our borders is and must be a priority. In relation to these matters, we must also take advice from the federal government. It is important that we tread carefully in relation to these matters with the safety of the Western Australian community with the safety and security of the Western Australian community, obviously of utmost priority as well.
Do you feel, as a lot of people do, that the West Australian coast is largely unprotected and needs more focus? Doesn't matter who the federal government is. If it's Dutton next time, you'd be saying the same thing.
Well, this shouldn't be about politics. This is about the security of our coastline, and quite clearly the Western Australian coastline does deserve greater attention, and we will, as a state government, as a state representative, we would be looking to the federal government to ensure that we are best resourced to be able to deal with these matters. We will also ensure that we tread carefully and take advice in relation to defence or security issues.
Your federal leader this morning has said the Prime Minister is out of his depth on this. Do you agree?
Well, we see weak leadership at a state and federal level when it comes to Labor. I certainly believe the best outcome when it comes to federal security is to ensure the election of a Dutton government.
The Premier described your Albany candidate this morning as a risk to our democratic system. Do you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely not. In relation to abortion, our position is clear. We have no plan, and changing abortion laws is not part of the Liberal Party's plan. What I would also say is there's a range of views on both sides of Parliament, as there are across the community, but changing the abortion laws is not part of the Liberal Party's plan.
Can I just ask, though, why you didn't make that point on Saturday in your press conference, given Thomas Bruff made those comments at the press conference?
Because my position has been very clear.
Why didn't you make it
My
clear
position has been consistent and it has been clear. And while there are differing views across the Labor Party and the Liberal Party, I have supported the reforms and I have made it abundantly clear that abortion law changes are not part of the Liberal Party's plan.
Isn't that unclear for voters, though, when you've got one
No,
candidate
it's
saying
not
one thing and
unclear.
you're saying something else? How
No,
is that not unclear?
because there's a range of views across the Parliament, as they were expressed at the time from the Labor Party and the Liberal Party, and I've made it explicitly clear that abortion law changes are not part of the Liberal Party's plan. When it comes to health, our priority is addressing ambulance ramping, cutting the elective surgery wait times, and ensuring patients get the care that they need when they need it.
Were Thomas Bruff's comments on Saturday a mistake then to muddy the waters on this issue?
There are a range of views across the community. The position of the Liberal Party is clear.
But it seems
It
that
is
there's a
not
range
part
of views within the Liberal
of
Party on this issue.
There are a range of views in the Labor Party on this issue.
We're talking about the Liberal Party.
And my position, the Liberal Party's position, is abundantly clear.
Did he muddy the
Changing the abortion laws is not part of the Liberal Party's plan. When it comes to health, you can ask it any way you like, but when it comes to health, our priority is ensuring we build capacity in our hospital system, implement our reforms, and ensure our workforce is properly supported. We will tackle ambulance ramping, elective surgery, and ensure our workforce is supported, and ensure patients get the health care that they need when they need it.
Libby, is it a case of double standards when Roger Cook is very critical of your leadership and some of the Liberal candidates saying they should be disendorsed, when today he insisted that Eloise Brashkich just needed to be counselled?
Roger Cook is obsessed with candidates and backgrounds. My focus is on the people of Western Australia and the solutions that we have to make Western Australia a better state to live in, by addressing hospital wait times, by ensuring our community is safer, by delivering more homes, by restoring regional services, by ensuring that Western Australians aren't struggling to make ends meet. While Roger Cook is focused on these matters, I'm focused on the priorities that Western Australians are talking to me about, and what they're asking me is how is it that in a state as wealthy as Western Australia, violent crime is up over 40%? How is it that threatening behaviour is up over 147%? How is it that we have a broken health system and the worst outcomes in emergency departments in the nation when it comes to our healthcare system?
Alison Evans from the Centre of Women's Safety said this morning abortion care should not be at the whim of politics. Do you agree?
Well, it is always a conscience vote. Changing abortion laws is not part of the Liberal Party's plan.
Will you condemn Mr Brock's comments?
There are a range of views across the community in relation to this, as there are a range of views across the Parliament. As I have stated, I couldn't be more clear. Changing the abortion laws or abortion reform is not part of the Liberal Party's agenda. These reforms I supported when they were introduced into Parliament, and changing the abortion laws is not part of the Liberal Party's plan. Our focus when it comes to health is fixing a broken health system. We're seeing the worst outcomes in emergency departments in the nation, despite the largest boom our state has ever seen. We have a failed health minister, we have a premier who is a failed health minister as well, and is not making this issue a priority.
Does it frustrate you to have to keep defending your candidates when you had no role in their appointment?
Look, my focus is firmly on the issues that Western Australians are talking to me about and what they're concerned about. And when I'm out and about...
Because it keeps coming up, they keep taking your oxygen, and it gives Cook an opening to attack.
Well,
you.
Roger Cook would...
Look,
while Roger Cook is focused on candidates, I'm focused on the issues that Western Australians are caring about. And those issues that Western Australians are talking to me about. Assaults up 63%, threatening behaviour up 147%. The fact that we have less police per capita across the state. And today we're talking about our comprehensive package when it comes to law and order, in contrast to the Labor Party's vacuum when it comes to keeping the community safe.
It's a bit hypocritical of the Premier, isn't it? I mean, he's slapped you down for old candidates' posts from the same window today. He's saying he'll be counselling, I think was the word that he used, his candidates.
Roger Cook would like to speak about anything else except his appalling record in government or his plan to actually fix the issues that really matter to the people of Western Australia. He has failed the people of Western Australia on all of the key priority areas that really matter, and only the WA Liberals have a clear plan to fix it.
Just on transport, you're obviously making some re-announcements. These are policies you've already announced.
Yep.
Can we expect any policies around public transportation or more road upgrades in the final days of the election campaign?
We have already made a number of election commitments in relation to transport. It is very clear that when it comes to our priorities are fixing a broken health system, addressing law and order, delivering more homes, cost of living and regional services.
Why is it that transport hasn't featured in that priorities list? What is it about it that means you don't see the need to invest it as much as you do health and law and order and other things?
Well, what we have seen is a vacuum when it comes to law and order on the Labor Party's side. But this is all about priorities. And what the people of Western Australia want to hear from the Liberal Party about is what are the key priorities for the Liberal Party which we would fix in government. And quite clearly, we have seen billions of dollars invested in the transport portfolio. We have made some commitments in relation to this, but our key priorities fixing our hospital system, addressing law and order, delivering more homes, addressing cost of living pressures and restoring regional services. It's a matter of priorities. The Cook Labor government have not made these 5 priority areas their priorities. Western Australians, that when I'm out and about talking to Western Australians, these are the issues that Western Australians want to see fixed. And when it comes to our broken health system, struggling Western Australians trying to put food on the table, Western Australians, challenged by a housing crisis as well, it is clear, despite the biggest boom our state has ever seen, Roger Cook has comprehensively failed to listen to the people of Western Australia and failed to deliver in these key areas.
The Prime Minister is due to come here this week. Do you think that will help your campaign more, or Cook? Are you going to piggyback off any federal issues at the moment?
Oh, well, Roger Cook has been very weak when it comes to standing up to Canberra. Whether it's state or federal Labor, they don't understand Western Australians. Roger Cook has allowed our Anthony Albanese to ban live export in Western Australia, which has comprehensively hurt our farming industry. Whether it's the nature positive laws, which will probably come in, would be planned to come in later, industrial relations, the forced unionisation of the Pilbara, or the live export ban. Quite clearly, Labor at a state and federal level don't get Western Australia. They're only interested in their own agenda.
Given the news poll is not very favouring to Anthony Albanese, do you believe that it will help your campaign?
You don't need a news poll to understand that Anthony Albanese doesn't back WA. Whether it's the live export ban, whether it's nature positive law plans, whether it's industrial relations, Anthony Albanese does not back WA, and right alongside him is Roger Cook, comrades in arms. And only the WA Liberal Party have a plan to actually address the issues that impact Western Australians, but also back Western Australian industry.
Are you banking on, though, voters being confused about state and federal politics as a way of getting over the line in some very tight races?
My focus is very clear. My focus is about sending our message to the people of Western Australia. And while Roger Cook and Anthony Albanese are focused on themselves, the Liberal Party is focused on you. We're focused on the issues that matter to Western Australians right across this state, whether it's Western Australians that aren't feeling safe in their homes or in their communities, whether they have a family member who's experienced being treated in a corridor in one of our hospitals, whether they're struggling to get a roof over their head, or whether they're in a regional centre which has been completely ignored by this government. Only the WA Liberal Party are talking about the issues that impact Western Australians and have a plan to actually fix them.
Have you noted, though, increased confusion from voters on the hustings about federal and state leaders and issues?
Well, when it comes to federal Labor or federal government issues, the frustration is Roger Cook has failed to stand up to Canberra when it has come to the live export ban, which will overwhelmingly hurt WA farmers and regional communities. Roger Cook has failed to stand up to Canberra when it has come to the forced unionisation of the Pilbara and backing our mining industries as well. Thank you.
Maybe need to drink.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Can I get a photo of yourself, George, Libby, and